My ex accidentally texted in our group chat. I can't believe he fell for it. I got everything. I replied, wrong number. Then I forwarded the text to my lawyer to reopen our settlement for fraud. Her lawyer was left frantically calling, claiming it was a joke. I'm 34 male, just an average guy. I work in logistics. I like to grill on the weekends. And up until about 3 months ago, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with Danielle, 31. We were together for 6 years, engaged for the last 2. The wedding was planned, deposits were paid, the whole 9 yards. Then, out of the blue, she called it off. She gave me the whole, it's not you, it's me speech, said she felt lost, that she needed to find herself, and that she couldn't be the wife I deserved right now. I was gutted, absolutely blindsided. But I loved her, and if she was this unhappy, I wasn't going to force her to stay. I just wanted her to be okay. The breakup was surprisingly amicable, or so I thought. We had bought a house together a couple of years back. I had put down the majority of the down payment, $80,000 from an inheritance from my grandfather, and had paid for most of the major renovations. But the house was in both our names. During the settlement, she cried. A lot. She talked about how this house was the only stable thing in her life, how she had no family to fall back on. Her parents are well off, but that's a story for another time, and how starting over would cripple her financially. My lawyer, a no-nonsense guy named Vincent, told me I was entitled to at least my initial investment back, plus appreciation. But looking at Danielle, sobbing across the table, I just caved. I felt guilty. I kept thinking, what if I pushed her to this point? So I agreed to a settlement that was, to put it mildly, incredibly generous to her. She got the house, and I walked away with my car, my personal savings, and a fraction of my initial investment back, about $20. I figured I could rebuild. It was just money. I just wanted her to be happy, and for us to part on decent terms. I was a schmuck. A world-class, grade-A schmuck. We still had a group chat with a few of our mutual friends, mostly for coordinating stuff about the dog we used to share, a golden retriever named Buddy. We'd agreed on an informal custody arrangement. The chat had been mostly silent since we split, other than the occasional, I can take Buddy this weekend text. Until last night. It was about 10 p.m. I was on my couch watching some dumb action movie and trying not to think about the fact that this was the first Friday night in 6 years I was truly alone. My phone buzzed. It was the group chat. It was from Danielle. Danielle, I can't believe he fell for it. I got everything. The waterworks were the perfect touch. He's such a bleeding heart. Me and Gabrielle are celebrating tonight. Time to pop the expensive stuff he left behind. My heart stopped. I read it again, and again. It didn't feel real. It was like the air had been sucked out of the room. Every memory of that settlement negotiation flashed in my mind, but this time it was different. Her tears weren't tears of sadness. They were a performance. The shaky voice wasn't due to heartbreak. It was a calculated act. Gabriella is her best friend, who was also in the group chat. For a solid 10 minutes, I just sat there, phone in my hand, feeling my blood run cold and then hot. The hurt was immense, a physical ache in my chest, but underneath it, something else was starting to simmer. A cold, quiet rage. I didn't blow up the group chat. I didn't text her privately, screaming. I just typed out 2 words. Me, wrong number. The immediate backpedaling was a sight to behold. Danielle has deleted a message. Danielle has deleted a message. OMG, Danielle, wrong chat. OMG, I'm so sorry, that was a joke. It was for a TV show script Gabriella and I are writing, a dark comedy. So sorry, that must have looked awful, lol. A TV show script, right? The group chat went silent, but my personal phone started blowing up, a string of texts from Danielle. Logan, please answer. It was a joke, you know my sense of humor. You're taking this way too seriously. Please don't be mad, it was a stupid, stupid joke. I didn't respond. I just took a screenshot of the original text. Then I took screenshots of her panicked follow-ups and Gabriella's immediate reaction. I forwarded everything to my personal email. Then I opened a new email. To vincent.k@lawfirm.com. Subject, fraudulent settlement, Logan Miller. Hi Vincent, hope you're having a good evening. Sorry to bother you so late. I think we have grounds to reopen the settlement with Danielle. See attached screenshot. Best? Logan, I attached the image of her original text. I hit send. The feeling of relief was immediate. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the sheer, unmitigated gall, the calculated deception. About 15 minutes later, my phone rang, an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a new voicemail notification popped up. It was Danielle's lawyer, the guy who sat across from Vincent at the settlement table. His voice was frantic, stumbling over his words. Logan, hi, this is Wayne Richland, Danielle's attorney. Listen, I think there's been a major misunderstanding here. Danielle tells me there was a joke, a poorly timed joke that was sent to the wrong group chat. She's terribly distraught. It was in no way a reflection of the reality of your settlement, which was conducted in good faith. She's willing to apologize, of course. Maybe we can all just get on the phone and clear this up before we involve Vincent and escalate things unnecessarily. Give me a call back at your earliest convenience, please. I didn't call back. I just poured myself a glass of the good whiskey I bought, the one she thought I'd left behind. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt calm. This isn't about revenge, it's about consequences. Update 1. Hey everyone. Thanks for the massive wave of support on my original post. It's meant a lot, because I've had to reread it a few times to remind myself why I'm putting myself through this hell. The initial adrenaline has long since worn off, replaced by the slow, grinding reality of the legal system. Vincent, my lawyer, was thrilled when he first saw the text. He called it Exhibit A in a slam dunk case. But he also gave me a stern warning. Slam dunks still take time, Logan. This will be a marathon, not a sprint. Be ready for that. He wasn't kidding. The first month was a flurry of activity. Vincent filed a motion to set aside our original settlement agreement on the grounds of fraudulent inducement. Danielle's lawyer, Wayne, filed a response claiming the text was hyperbole, a private joke taken out of context, and that our motion was a frivolous and vindictive act of a scorned lover. Reading that made my blood boil, but Vincent told me to get used to it. The entitlement from Danielle's camp has been breathtaking. After her initial text storm failed, she went silent, clearly on the advice of her lawyer. But her mother, Marilyn, picked up the slack. She left me 2 more voicemails, one where she called me a pathetic little man who can't stand to see a woman get what she deserves, and another where she threatened to spare no expense in burying me in legal fees. I forwarded them both to Vincent, who just added them to the file he labeled evidence of malice. The real battle has been over simple communication. Wayne Richland has been trying to stonewall us at every turn. He'll take weeks to respond to a simple email. Everything has to be a formal motion. It feels like his entire strategy is to make this so slow and so expensive that I'll just give up. It's taking a toll. I'm not sleeping well. Every time I get an email from Vincent, my stomach twists into a knot. I'm trying to stay focused at work, but my mind keeps drifting back to this, replaying conversations, rereading that damn text. It feels like my life has been on hold for 2 months. We have a preliminary hearing next month where a judge will decide if there's enough evidence to proceed. Vincent says the text alone should be enough, but warned me that judges can be unpredictable. So we wait. Danielle tried one last-ditch effort to get to me directly. She dropped Buddy, our dog, off at my apartment last week. When I opened the door, she put on the waterworks again, the same performance I saw at the settlement. "Logan, please," she whispered. "Don't do this. Don't take the house from me. It's all I have." A few months ago, that would have broken me. But now, all I could see was the actress. All I could hear was the echo of her text. The waterworks were the perfect touch. I just looked at her, then looked down at Buddy, who was happily wagging his tail. "You should talk to your lawyer, Danielle," I said, and closed the door. This is harder than I thought it would be. But every time I feel like giving up, I remember why I started. This isn't just about a house anymore. Update 2. Hello again, Reddit. It's been a long time. For anyone who thought this would be a quick and satisfying story, I'm here to tell you that justice moves at the speed of a glacier. The preliminary hearing was a success. The judge agreed that the text message constituted significant evidence of potential fraud and gave us the green light to proceed with discovery. This was a huge victory, but it also opened the floodgates to the next phase of this war, digging for the truth they tried to bury. Vincent immediately subpoenaed phone records and financial statements for both Danielle and Gabriella. As expected, their lawyer fought it viciously, claiming it was a massive invasion of privacy. It took another 2 months and another hearing for the judge to compel them to comply. The stonewalling was infuriating. It felt less like a legal dispute and more like a test of endurance. There were weeks where nothing happened, and the silence was almost worse than the fighting. The legal bills kept piling up, and I had a few dark nights where I seriously considered if draining my savings was worth it. When we finally got the phone records, the text history between Danielle and Gabriella around the time of the breakup was suspiciously clean. There were huge gaps. It was obvious they had deleted their conversations. Wayne Richland claimed they were irrelevant personal chats that were deleted long ago to free up phone storage. A laughable lie. This is where Vincent earned his fee. He said, "They're not just going to hand us the murder weapon, Logan. We have to go find where they buried it." He convinced me to file another motion, a time to have a neutral, court-appointed digital forensics expert recover data from their cloud backups. It was expensive. I had to dip into my 401k to cover the cost, a move that felt like a physical blow. It took 3 more months. 3 months of waiting, of my life being in limbo, all while Danielle took to social media to play the victim. She posted sad, vague statuses about being hounded by a vengeful ex and fighting for her home. She posted old photos of us looking happy with captions like, "Remembering when life was simple and people were kind." It was a masterclass in manipulation, and it worked on some people. A couple of old friends like Juan reached out to tell me I should just let it go and move on. I cut them out of my life. Then, last week, the forensics report came in, and it was a goddamn novel of their deceit. The expert recovered a trove of deleted iMessages, not one perfect smoking gun, but something far more damning, a pattern. A meticulous, calculated plan stretching back months before our breakup. February, 4 months pre-breakup. Gabriella to Danielle, "If you're really this unhappy, you need an exit strategy. You can't just walk away from the house equity." March, Danielle to Gabriella, "I'm going to start laying the groundwork. More talk about feeling lost and confused. He's a fixer. He'll try to fix me instead of seeing what's coming." April, Gabriella to Danielle, "When you do it, you have to be the victim. Total emotional breakdown. He can't handle you crying. Use it." May, a week before the breakup. Danielle to Gabriella, "He just paid for that big landscaping project. The timing is perfect. The value just went up. I'm thinking next week. I'm practicing my 'it's not you, it's me' speech. So hard not to smirk." Reading it felt like I was being stabbed over and over again. The casual cruelty, the long-term planning. It was sociopathic. The woman I loved and worried about never really existed. She was a character they had created to defraud me. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt empty. And very, very cold. Vincent said, "The depositions are next. This is the beginning of the end for them." I hope he's right. I don't know how much more of this I can take. Update 3. It's been almost a year since that text message blew up my life. The depositions were scheduled for last month. I was a wreck leading up to it. This was the first time I'd be in the same room as her, since that day she dropped off the dog. Vincent prepped me thoroughly. He said, "They're gonna lie. They're going to stick to the 'it was a joke' story. We let them. We give them enough rope to hang themselves before we show them the noose." Danielle went first. She walked into the conference room looking polished and confident, but her eyes were brittle. She started off strong, sticking to her story under Vincent's gentle questioning. The group chat text was a dark joke. The settlement was fair and amicable. She felt terrible financial and emotional distress during the breakup. She was a convincing liar. I'll give her that. Then Vincent slid a binder across the table. "I'd like to direct your attention to a series of recovered text messages from last spring." He didn't start with the most damning ones. He started small. A text about her parents paying off her credit card bill 2 months before she claimed she had no family support. A text from Gabriella talking about the new designer bag Danielle bought the week after our amicable settlement. Each one was a small poke. Danielle's composure started to crack. "I don't recall," became her mantra. "This is out of context." Then Vincent turned to a new page. "Could you please read the message you sent to Ms. Ross on May 12th, he asked, his voice still calm. She read it silently, her face turning ashen. It was the practicing my speech, so hard not to smirk text. "I'll read it for the record," Vincent said. "I'm practicing my it's not you it's me speech, so hard not to smirk." "Miss Evans, what did you mean by that?" Silence. She just stared at the paper. Her lawyer, Wayne, put his hand on her arm and said, "We're taking a break." Gabriella's deposition was even more of a train wreck. She tried to be defiant, but when Vincent presented her with the texts where she was actively coaching Danielle, "You have to be the victim, use it," she completely fell apart. She started crying and tried to blame everything on Danielle, saying she was just trying to be a good friend, and Danielle was obsessed with getting the house. It was pathetic, but it was also the final nail in their coffin. By turning on each other, they confirmed the conspiracy. Wayne Richland called Vincent the next day. All the bluster was gone. He said, "Let's schedule a mediation. My client wants to resolve this." Vincent's reply was simple, "Good, we'll be there." Seeing her lie so brazenly, and then seeing her crumble when faced with the undeniable truth, it wasn't satisfying. It was just ugly. It confirmed that everything I had been fighting for and grieving over for the past year was real. The betrayal was as deep as I had imagined, and now finally, it was time to settle the score. Final update. It's over. It's finally, truly over. The final chapter of this nightmare wasn't a dramatic courtroom showdown. It was an 8-hour mediation session in a soulless office building that smelled like stale coffee. Danielle was there with her lawyer. She wouldn't look at me. She looked thin, tired, and angry. The confident actress was gone, replaced by someone who knew she had lost. Vincent laid out our opening demand: immediate sale of the house, full repayment of my AITA investment, 75% of the remaining equity, all of my legal and forensic expert fees paid, and a significant 6-figure sum in punitive damages for the intentional fraud. Wayne, her lawyer, audibly scoffed, but there was no real fire in it. Their counteroffer was a joke, and the next several hours were a painful, slow negotiation, with a mediator shuffling between our 2 rooms. Every time my resolve wavered, Vincent would point to the binder of evidence on the table. "They planned this, Logan. They mocked you. Don't forget that." In the end, we reached an agreement. It was brutal, but it was just. The house, ordered to be sold. It took another 3 months on the market in a cooling economy, 3 more months of limbo. But it sold. Restitution. From the proceeds, my $80,000 inheritance was paid back to me first. Equity split. After paying off the mortgage, we agreed on a 70-30 split of the remaining profit in my favor. This was the biggest point of contention, but when Vincent threatened to take the recovered texts to a jury, they folded. Fees and damages. Danielle had to pay for all of my attorney's fees and the cost of the digital forensics expert out of her share. We also agreed on a sum for punitive damages. It wasn't the lottery, but it was enough to sting and to make a point. When the dust settled and all the checks cleared, I was made whole. I had my inheritance back, my legal fees were covered, and I had a substantial sum from the equity and damages. Danielle, after paying me, her own lawyer, and her debts, walked away with next to nothing from the asset she had schemed so hard to get. She had to move back in with her parents. Her friendship with Gabriella is obliterated. I heard they're threatening to sue each other now. There was no joy in this victory. Just exhaustion. I won. But it cost me 14 months of my life. It cost me thousands of dollars out of pocket before I was reimbursed. It cost me my belief in the person I once loved and my ability to trust people easily. I bought a small condo in a different part of the city. It's mine. Just mine. Buddy is asleep at my feet, his snores filling the quiet space. For months, the silence felt like loneliness. Now it's starting to feel like peace. This whole ordeal changed me. The bleeding heart she mocked is gone, replaced by scar tissue. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it's what's real. She sent that text to brag that she got everything. But in the end, her everything turned out to be nothing. And me? I lost a fiancé and a year of my life, but I got my self-respect back. I got my future back. And after everything, I'm starting to think that's worth more than the house ever was.